Hi, I'm James Houston, Director of Maintenance with Garner Trucking. Today we're going to go through a pre-trip inspection, showing you what to check, how to check it. When you do that, there are 4 things that you really need to have. One is a flashlight, something heavy like a hammer or a billy club to check your tires with, either a shop rag or a paper towel for checking your oil, and a pair of gloves. So we're going to start here with the engine compartment. And the first thing I'm going to do is to come around, and you should do this before you start the motor of the truck, and I'm going to check the oil. I'm going to wipe the dipstick off, make sure it's completely clean. Then I'm going to put it back in, give it a couple seconds, pull it back out, and we're going to check our oil. And the oil on this truck is right up where it should be. If it is near the bottom of the stick, it takes about 1 gallon of oil to bring it back up. I'm then going to check our power steering fluid, and I can see this one's up to the max level. I'm going to check our fuel water separator, and as long as you're in this area, you're okay. If it gets up into the black area there, then it's time to change the filter. Please bring it to the attention of the shop, and we can make sure that that gets taken care of. Then I'm going to look up here, and I'm going to check the antifreeze level. You've got cold max and you've got warm max up here. This truck has not been started. It's cold. We're above the cold max mark. We should be fine on our antifreeze. Then I'm going to look down here, and I'm going to start checking my spring. I'm going to make sure my steering axle spring is good. It's not, has no cracks, isn't broken. Everything is in line. I'm going to check my power steering box. I'm going to make sure there's no fluid leaking around the steering yoke, or I'm going to make sure that the steering shaft, there's no oil or anything dripping from it here. This one's all clean. I'm going to grab a hold of my pitman arm, make sure that there's no movement with that. Make sure that it's connected well, and then I'm going to come around here and I'm going to take a quick look at the brakes and make sure that I've got at least 1/4 inch of lining here on the brakes. I'm going to check my slack adjusters, make sure both pins are installed, and then I'm going to take a quick look at my hose here, make sure that this hasn't rubbed anywhere, and this hose appears to be in good condition. Then I'm just going to take an overall look at this side of the engine. I'm going to look for any fluid leaks where there's oil or fuel running out of it, or antifreeze. If you see anything red, it always helps look underneath the truck, make sure there's nothing dripping or no puddles forming underneath the truck. And then I'm just going to take a quick overall visual of everything, making sure I'm not seeing anything that's loose or out of place or anything that just doesn't look right to you at the time. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look at my tires. The steer tire has to have at least 4/32 of tread depth at its shallowest part. I'm going to look for uneven wear around the side of the tire. I'm going to look for cupping. I'm going to look for cuts, any foreign objects that may be stuck in the tire, and I'm going to look all the way down everything I can see. I'm going to look front, I'm going to look rear of the tire, make sure there's nothing sticking in it, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to just really quickly put my finger on each and every lug nut. If anything moves, then it's loose and the truck should not be driven. Now I'm going to come down here, I'm going to pop the cap, I'm going to look in here for oil, I'm going to stick my finger in there, bend it down, and I can touch oil. I should be good. Anything from my finger to my first knuckle is about where you want your oil to be. It should not come running out when you take the cap off. If it does, it's overfilled. You also want to look at a visual, make sure there's no oil or anything in and around the hubcap. And this is all clean and dry. Okay? That's about everything that you need to check in this area. Now we're on the passenger side of the vehicle, and a lot of the same thing. I'm going to look at the spring down here. These trucks are equipped with air ride suspensions. I'm going to make sure that the air ride rod is connected. I'm going to look at all my pins on my slack adjusters, make sure they're in place. Once again, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to bend over and look at my brake shoes. Make sure that this lining area right here, I have at least 1/4 of an inch thickness. These are well within that. I have no broken springs. Again, I'm looking over the engine. I'm looking for any oil leaks, fuel leaks, water leaks, making sure all the clamps and everything that I see are tight. Again, give it an overall visual. My radiator hoses, make sure it's not rubbing anywhere. Then I want to come down here and I want to look at my belts. And the only way to check a belt is to grab a hold of it. I'm going to give it a tug. It's got plenty of pressure on it. I'm going to come down here, check my second belt. It's also got plenty of pressure on it. If those belts are loose, then there's something wrong. I'm also going to take a quick look at my fan. I'm going to make sure that none of the blades are cracked or broken or have fins missing on them. Again, this fan looks fine. And then once again, just a quick overall view. Anything loose, anything that looks out of place, anything that doesn't look right to you. And then I'm going to check my second steer tire. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come around the front and look down the front. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to look all the way around everything I can see. I'm going to check all my lug nuts on this side. And once again, I'm going to pop the center cap out and I'm going to check my oil. Again, I can touch the oil. So that's good. I don't see any leaks around the hubcap, so everything there looks good. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut my hood. Making sure to latch both sides of the hood. Okay, both sides are latched. Now I'm going to continue down the passenger side of the truck. I'm going to open the side box. I am going to look at my triangles, make sure I've got 3 triangles in here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to check the fire extinguisher. Let's see that. Making sure that the needle is within the green area of the fire extinguisher. And I'm going to check I've got a gallon of windshield washer solvent and a gallon of oil and a gallon of antifreeze in the truck. So everything in this area is good. Now I'm going to come back here and I'm going to check my drive tires. Again, I'm looking for any foreign objects in the tire. Drive tires have to have at least 2/32 seconds of tread depth at the shallowest part. I'm looking around for foreign objects. If you do find a nail, a screw, anything in a tire, unless you're at the shop, do not remove it. That may be what's holding the air in on the tire. Wait till you get to either the shop or to a truck stop that has tire repair before we pull it out. That way it doesn't go flat before you get there. And then we've created our own problem. So again, make sure there's no unusual wear on the tire. And then I'm going to come down again. I'm going to put my finger on each and every lug nut. I've got no loose lug nuts. I'm going to check my axle, make sure I've got no oil dripping out of here. There's no oil in the rim. I'm going to look on the back side. And again, I'm going to look for oil on the back of the tire. I'm going to check the spring and look at the spring. Make sure that the spring down here is not cracked or broken. I'm going to check out my brake chambers, my hoses. I'm going to look for hoses that may be rubbing. I'm going to check my fifth wheel mounts. Again, put your fingers on them. None of these bolts should be loose. If they are, you want to call the shop immediately. And again, we're going to do the same thing with the back tire now. Look at it all the way around, check for foreign objects in the tire, and I'm going to come around, check all my nuts. going to look for axle gear lube leaking out of here. There's no oil in the wheel. Then I'm going to come around the back side of the truck, and I'm going to once again check my brakes. I'm going to look at the slack adjusters to make sure the pins are in place. The slack adjuster pins. I'm looking for oil inside the tires, inside this area of the tire. Any oil you see in here should not be there. It's probably a leaking wheel seal on the tractor. I'm going to look for anything that looks loose or out of place. Any cracks in the frame. Again, I'm going to check all my bolts on this side of the fifth wheel. And I'm going to check my tires. Lug nuts. Leakage. Pull my air tank drain. That bleeds any moisture that's in the tanks off. That is especially critical in the winter months. Any moisture that gets in the tanks can freeze, and if it freezes, air can't get back to the brakes, and you can't release the brakes. So make sure that you do that on a daily basis. I'm going to take the glad hands, remove those, and I'm going to check the glad hand rubbers. Make sure that these aren't cracked or cut. If they are, they need replaced. Service glad hand. Emergency glad hand. Look for bare spots. If you see any bare spots, look at my lines. Make sure I don't have any cracks in any of my lines. Everything looks good. If I can get this back in, there it goes. Now, one thing I did not do, I have to do this in person, is fumble my tires. You can tell if a tire's flat by listening to the sound. When they're flat, they'll make a real hollow thud. All the tires are good. Check the fuel tank. Look for any leaks. That's where the flashlight comes in handy if you're looking up underneath the truck. I'm just looking for any types of leaks, oil, fuel. I don't see any fuel dripping underneath the truck. I'm going to check the driver's side. Again, I don't see anything leaking. I don't see any airlines that look cracked or bad. I don't see any missing bolts. Don't see anything out of place. I'm going to look at the fifth wheel, make sure everything looks good there, no cracks. My pins are locked. Make sure that the slider pins are engaged. These pins right here need to be completely in the holes on both sides as they are. And then we'll move to the inside of the cab.